Okay, ellipses are similar to circles in that they both have an x squared and a y squared term, but in this case it always equals 1. The equation always equals 1, and you're always dividing by a and b, a squared and b squared. When my major axis, that's the long side of my ellipse, so if my major axis is horizontal, that goes with this equation. Or if my major axis is vertical, then I want to make sure my smaller number, notice right here, A is always bigger than B, so my larger number goes under the X if it's horizontal, goes under the Y if it's vertical. In order to get your foci, you do have to do a squared minus b squared equals c squared. And if it's in the center, we don't need to worry about that, but that's when our h and k is 0. So a picture of what this looks like. We have our center at hk. I go long distance A, both sides to get to my long sides. Short distance B and B, get to my short sides. And notice the two different, make sure you put your A and your B in this right spot. Find the standard form of the equation of the ellipse having a foci at -2, 2, and 4, 2. Major axis length of 10. Okay, so if my foci are always on the major. Always on the major. So my major axis has a length of 10. So these are two foci, and the center of these foci is the center of my ellipse. So I think that falls right here. And then if my major axis has a length of 10, that means I need to go out 5 left and right. So 2 more than my foci gives me my major axis. Okay, to write the equation, you need to know h, k. You also need to know a and b. In this case, we know a is 5. We know c, which goes to the focus, is 3. Not necessary, but we might need it to find b. My h is going to be 1. My k is going to be 2. So I do need to find b. C squared equals a squared minus b squared. 9 equals 25. Minus b squared. Subtract 25. Negative 16 equals negative b squared. Both positive. B's got to be 4. You're only looking at the positive because you're looking at a length. So that means 4 up and down would give me my minor axes. So, standard form, since this is horizontal, well, it doesn't matter. I always start with x. I'm going to be writing it in this form. X minus 1, quantity squared, over a squared. Let's see, a was 5, so this is 25, plus y minus k, but we know k is 2, squared over b squared. B was 4, so 16 equals 1. Okay, sketch the ellipse given by this equation. Identify the center and the vertices. Okay, so we know that when we have an ellipse, it has to equal 1. Divide everything through by 16. X squared minus y squared over 4 equals 1. So now we know this we can say is over 1. This has to be our a squared, so a is going to be 2. This has to be our b squared, so b is 1. We can see since x squared and y squared are by themselves, h is 0, k is also 0. So my center is at 0, 0. Vertices, okay, so if my center is at 0, 0, since my larger number is underneath y, my ellipse is going to be tall. How tall? I look underneath it, 2. So 2 up and 2 down. If I want to know how wide, b would be 1. So here's my ellipse. My vertices are now going to be at 0, -2, and 0, +2. Okay, this problem was written wrong. It is 16x squared. It is positive 25y squared, but it is minus 32x minus 50y. Let's try that again. 50y plus 16 equals 0. Okay, same thing with the circle. You want to get your x's together, your y's together, your constant on the right side. So 16x squared minus 32x plus 25y squared minus 50y equals -16. Before I can complete the square for the x's, I have to factor out whatever is with that x squared, 16, so that makes this x squared minus 2x, plus, same thing with the y's, factor out the 25, y squared minus 2y equals -16 still. I'm going to complete the square with what's in the parentheses, leaving that 16 out there. So x minus half of -2 would be -1 squared, minus 1 squared is 1, plus 25, parenthesis, y minus half of -2 again is -1 squared, minus 1 squared is 1, equals -16. Distribute what you factored out back in front of the quantity squared and with the constant. 16x minus 1 squared minus 16 plus 25 y minus 1 squared minus 25 equals -16. Add 16, add 25. So now I have 16 x minus 1 squared plus 25 y minus 1 squared equals 25. And we know an ellipse always has to equal 1, so divide everything through by 25. Okay, so x minus 1 squared over, now that's 16 over 25, I'm going to have to make this divided by 25 over 16, which, if you think about multiplying the reciprocal, is the same thing, but since it doesn't reduce, I have to write it like this, plus y minus 1 squared, and this one would just be over 1, equals 1. So now I know that h is going to be 1, k is going to be 1, a, which one's bigger, 25/16 or 1? 25/16. But this right here is a squared. So a is going to be 5/4, b is going to be 1. So when I sketch my graph, I need to put my center at 1, 1. Since a is underneath x, my ellipse is horizontal. 5/4, so 1 1/4, 1 1/4. B goes up and down 1. So there's the sketch of my parabola. Okay, one more of these. See if you can put this into standard form by yourself, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to sketch it but this time we're going to identify the center, vertices, and foci. If I put my x's together, 2x squared minus 4x plus 4y squared plus 8y equals 2. Take my coefficients out, would leave me x squared minus 2x plus 4, y squared plus 2y equals 2. 2 times, completing the square, x minus 1 squared minus 1 plus 4 parenthesis parenthesis y plus 1 squared minus 1 equals 2. Put my coefficient back in. 2 times x minus 1 squared minus 2 plus 4 y plus 1 squared minus 4 equals 2. Add my 2, add my 4. 2 times x minus 1 squared plus 4 times y plus 1 squared equals 8. Divide everything through by 8. Now I have x minus 1 squared over 4 plus y plus 1 squared over 2 equals 1. Parts. So this says that h is 1, k is negative 1, a is always larger, 2, b is going to be the square root of 2. So if I put my center, 1, negative 1, since a is under x, I know it has to be horizontal, so I'm going to go left and right 2. This puts my vertices at 3, negative 1, and negative 1, negative 1. And it said identify foci as well. So that has to do with c. C squared equals a squared minus b squared. 4 minus 2. C squared equals 2, so c equals the square root of 2, which means I'm going to go square root of 2 right, square root of 2 left from center. So my foci, if I base it off of my center, it's going to go from, let's see, the x-coordinate would be changing, 1 plus or minus the square root of 2. This accounts for going left and right. The y-coordinate for both of them is going to be the same, negative 1.